morning everyone, this is Cynthia Vera, a first-year college student from Pangasinan State University Urdaneta campus, taking up Bachelor of Science major in Computer Engineering. So, as you can see in my screen, our report is on part 2 of our syllabus entitled The First Century of Spanish Rule. The assigned topic for me is on Chapter 4 entitled Ecclesiastical Affairs in the 16th and 17th centuries. So, when we say ecclesiastical, according to Merriam-Webster Dictionary, it is something related to a church as an established institution. And affairs means that it is a work, activities that is done for a purpose. It can be commercial, professional, public, or personal business. Therefore, when we say ecclesiastical affairs, it is an activity that is related to a church and it is done for a purpose. So there are events that mark the beginning of the Philippine hierarchy as an independent entity. The first of this event is the creation of the Diocese of Manila on February 6, 1578. So diocese is a territorial jurisdiction of a bishop. In 1579, Philip II proposed to the Pope Fray Domingo de Salazar as bishop of newly created diocese. So that time, Fray Domingo de Salazar was a missionary in Nueva España, and he was formally installed as first bishop of Manila on December 21, 1581. So I have here the downloaded photo of Fray Domingo de Salazar. In that same year, 3 new bishoprics was created as suffragan dioceses to the Archbishopric of Manila. So this suffragan means a bishop appointed to help a diocesan bishop. So the first of these was Lalu and was also called Nueva Segovia during the Spanish colonial period. And this was established on August 14, 1595. And this Lalu is a bustling settlement along Cagayan River, and it was one of the first 4 cities that Spanish authorities established. Others are Naga, Cebu, and Manila. The first bishop of Diocese of Nueva Segovia was Father Miguel de Benavides, the founder of Santo Tomas. And for some reason, Bishop Juan de la Fuente Yepes moved the Diocese of Nueva Segovia to Vigan on September 7, 1578. So the second one is Nueva Caceres, or now called Naga City. It was also established on August 14, 1595, and it was elevated to the status of Archdiocese on June 29, 1951. So the third one is Cebu. Cebu was created on August 14, 1595 and erected on May 1, 1596. It became Archdiocese on April 28, 1934. To fill the positions on these dioceses, the following were appointed by Pope on the recommendation of Philip II. So the first one is Fray Ignacio de Santibanez. By the Franciscan order, he became the Archbishop of Manila. So the second one is Fray Miguel Benavides. He was the third bishop of Manila. He came to the Philippines with the first Dominican mission in 1581. As I said earlier, he was a bishop of Nueva Segovia. So the third one is Father Luis de Maldonado. He was a Franciscan, and as I said earlier, he was the bishop of Nueva Caceres. The fourth one is Father Pedro de Agurto. He was an Augustinian and a bishop of Cebu. So the second event was the origin of the privileges enjoyed by friars in the Indies. The origin of papal privileges enjoyed by friar curates is explained by the Dominican writer Vicente de Salazar in his Historia de la Provincia Santissimo Rosario in Manila, 1742. The following passages give the historical background of these privileges. The religious who left Spain for Indias devoted all their energies to the reduction of the Gentiles of those regions, bringing the idolatrous to the faith of Christ, and introducing them by means of the sacrament of the baptism to the Holy Church. So, yung religious na tinutukoy po dyan is yung mga friars who left Spain for the Indies. They devoted their lives and energies to reduce the Gentiles. Gentile meaning a person who is not Jewish. They want to bring an idolatrous to the faith of Christ and introducing them by the means of the sacrament of the baptism to the Holy Church. So idolatrous means worshipping an idol or God. So in this task, they work with zeal, many of them devoting their lives to it. Zeal meaning working with great energy or enthusiasm to pursue their objective. In view of the large number of infidels, or the person who does not believe in religion, that were reduced and of the lack at the time of seculars to administer the new curacy, it was necessary for the religious to accept the administration of those for charity's sake. This work was indeed onerous to the religious who had come to Indias, not for that purpose, but rather to preach and to convert the infidels to our holy religion, and they were being embarrassed by a work which was so foreign to their profession. Kasi parang mabigat sa mga friars yung nangyari because their main mission is to preach and to convert the infidels to our holy religion. Pero hindi yun ang nangyari. And they were being embarrassed by a work because it was so foreign to their profession. But, as it was not possible to dispense with the service of the religious, our Catholic monarch D. Felipe II, in order to make more tolerable and light the task which the religious were called upon to undertake, he requested Pope Pius V to exempt the religious of the Indias, who were employed in the parishes, notwithstanding the requirements to the contrary of the Council of Trent, from the jurisdiction and visitation of the ordinaries, and the latter's examination and approbation necessary for the taking of discharge, and to permit the religious to remain, even in their capacity as ministers our souls, under the absolute and sole jurisdiction of their respective superiors. For more than 3 centuries of Spanish rule, the missionaries or the friars, as they were known at that time, played a major role not only in propagating the Christian faith, but also in the political, social, economic, and cultural aspects of the Filipinos. They are actually the real conquistadors during the Spanish time. So, real conquistadors, conquistadors meaning an adventurer, or a person who is out to conquer new territory. So, it was the name given to the 15th and 17th century Spanish and Portuguese soldiers who conquered much of the world, most famously the Central and Southern America. The advent of phraseology. So, advent meaning arrival of a notable person, thing, or event, and phraseology meaning friars are the rulers. So, when the Legazpi expedition reached the Philippines in 1565, the Augustinian missionaries also began to make its presence. Other religious orders such as Franciscans, Jesuits, Dominicans, Recollects, and Benedictines. So, onting kwento lang, during the Spanish colonial period, priests are so much powerful that they practically ruled the Philippine Islands. So the primary role of these missionaries is to propagate Christianity among the natives of this new conquered islands. In order for these missionaries to have a self-sustainable life, land states known as friar lands were granted to them, thus making them landowners and later on merchants. They started to become influential not only economically but also politically. They reigned supreme even in government matters. Some even acted as governor-general until 1762. One example is Manuel Rojo or Manuel Antonio Rojo del Rio Vera, the last archbishop to hold such high position. So, he was born on September 24, 1708 and died on January 30, 1764 in the age of 55. His term started on July 22, 1759 up to January 30, 1764. Another development is the scarcity of secular priests to manage the parishes. These vacancies lead to the appointment of the regulars, especially in the rich and developed parishes. These events started phylocracy or monastic supremacy in the Philippines. So on the next slide, we will going to define secular priest and regular priest. So secular priests are Catholic clergymen normally assigned to parishes who have taken vows of chastity and obedience to the bishop, their immediate superior. On the other hand, the regular or religious priests have the monastic vows of chastity, poverty, and obedience, and their immediate superior have various designations. They usually live in community with a definite spiritual goals and kinds of work specified in the respective constitutions. So the following are the role of the friars. Number 1, syempre, spreading the word of God. Second, they created more than 30 towns, built churches, roads, and bridges, and other infrastructures. The third one is they established schools, colleges, and universities, hospitals, orphanage, and asylums across the country. The fourth one, they become the carriers of the Western cultures. So the fifth one was friars contributed much in the development of the printing press, medicine, science, architecture, music, grammar, dictionaries, literature, and arts, which eventually become part of the Filipino culture. They introduced new crops, plants, and animals from Europe and Mexico. The seventh one was they taught the natives new industries as dye making, bricks, and tile making. The third event was the incidents of the diocesan controversy. The Recollect historian Diego de Santa Teresa gives an account of some controversies which arose in the Philippines during the 16th and 17th century as a result of a peculiar situation which prevailed in many parishes from friar curates claimed immunity from the jurisdiction of the diocesan officials. In order to have a better understanding of the peculiar Philippine situation, it is necessary to know the essence and the background of the problem. First of all, the Spanish missionaries, while having their own superiors and particular functions specified by the religious rules, performed at the same time the office of the parish priest, thereby falling canonically within the jurisdiction of the ordinary of the place. So furthermore, due to its geographical location and poor economy, the Philippines was not a big attraction to Spanish settlers. Consequently, the nascent Catholic Church in the islands was seriously hobbled by having virtually no Spanish secular priests to whom parish works normally belonged. So parang napilayan sila kasi yung mga Spanish, hindi nila gusto masyado sa Philippines because of its poor economy and sa location neto. Kaya parang nahirapan sila kasi walang mamamahala sa kanila. So, in a view of the problem, the most logical solution should have been the formation of an indigenous secular clergy which Pope Leo X had encouraged as early as 1518. The Portuguese missionaries in Goa trained native seminarians in 1530s. Unfortunately, the Spaniards, for discretionary and other reasons, considered the Indios unfit to become priests. Kasi 'di ba, tingin naman talaga ng mga Spaniards sa mga Filipino noon pa man ay Indio o walang alam. And other reasons are Filipinos have brown skin and they have lack of experience. Although this was no longer the official policy in the New World, by the second half of the 17th century, the winds of change were extremely slow in reaching the Philippines. Thus, when a royal decree of 1677 ordered that a seminary be established in the island to train 8 native boys for the sacred ministry, the reaction in Manila was instantaneous, unanimous, and negative. It was not until 1720s that a handful of Indios were admitted as candidates to the priesthood of several colleges in Manila. So that handful meaning a person who is very difficult to deal with or control. So nung na-admit siya as a candidates to the priesthood in several colleges in Manila, pumayag na yung mga tao. But the seminary was not built, and after the ordinations, their assignments was generally limited only. It is only limited to the province of the cathedral and the various chaplains in the city. So parang hindi pa rin talaga pantay yung pagtingin sa kanila. And the powers, parang mas mababa pa rin yung tingin sa kanila ng mga Spanish missionaries or the friars. Pero buti na lang, si Monsignor Pedro Pilaes, Ecclesiastical Governor of Church, sided with Filipinos. Unfortunately, he died in an earthquake that destroyed the Manila Cathedral in 1863. After his death, other priests took place in fighting for the secularization movement. Among them were Father Mariano Gomez, Jose Burgos, and Jacinto Zamora, na mas kilala sa tawag na Gomburza. For my sources, I have 4 here. Dito ko po kinuha yung mga details nilagay ko sa report ko, and we have the title and the link below. Pwede nyo pong puntahan kung may something na malabo about sa report ko para mas malinawan po kayo. And I hope na sana may natutunan po kayo kahit kaunti. And thank you for watching. Bye!